Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you check us out on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Hookah Anonymous _. You guys been telling us to create one for the longest, so we recently created a community where we will upload videos that we can't share on YouTube due to their guidelines. We'll also be dropping the latest to there first, behind the scenes information that you wouldn't find anywhere else on our socials. So make sure you become a member, and after you do that, head over to our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _ and follow us there. Now without further ado, let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, I'm sure y'all realize by now that majority of these stories we do on this channel is to put a message out there and bring awareness to a lot of senselessness going on out there in the world, and crash out activities to hopefully bring real awareness to the youth to where they can realize that it's more to life. Some of these stories are just downright foolish, and the one we'll be talking about today is exactly just that. I would also say that a lot of these situations are based on these guys' circumstances and environments where I personally feel fitting in or idolizing the wrong people or materialistic things may play a key role. Time after time, we see individuals accused of these heinous crimes getting younger and younger, basically throwing their life away before it even starts. And before these guys are even able to experience life the right way as well as adulthood, they're already behind bars facing multiple years. When it comes to Huncho, he also has a brother by the name of C-Thing, who is currently incarcerated for his role in the death of Chicago rapper FBG Duck, after him and other OBlock affiliates was found guilty earlier this year. A lot of these guys don't understand what they put their parents through when they either lose their life, whether it's in a grave or a jail cell, and this is a selfish trait a lot of these guys have when partaking in the street life. Now, a mother will lose 2 children to the system, as Christopher Thomas, aka C-Thing, received a bunch of years behind bars as he was charged with committing M in aid of racketeering. Recently, Huncho was also sentenced for a crime he committed, where he basically crashed out while already being monitored on an ankle bracelet for a previous crime and receiving 20 years on top of 15. What made matters worse is the fact that an undercover officer is involved, in which it seems like Huncho has zero luck at all. You would think being on the ankle monitor would slow someone down, but I guess when it's meant for you to go to jail, it's just meant for you. So we're going to get into all that, but before we do, make sure you hit that thumbs up button so we can get this video into the algorithm, and if you're not subscribed to the platform already, make sure you do so now. Let's get into it. 23-year-old Christian Thomas, aka OBlock Huncho, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for shooting an off-duty cop, along with an additional 15 years he would have to serve consecutively for a separate carjacking case that he received. Long story short, by the time Huncho comes home, he's expected to be almost 60 years old if he carry out the full sentences. All of this stemmed from an attempted robbery case he caught back in June of 2020, where Huncho and another individual would attempt to rob an undercover police officer, and then when that didn't go as planned, they would open fire on the officer. Reports say that on June 9, 2020, Huncho along with another person would begin following the off-duty officer after he just got off of work. The officer was followed to his vehicle, and the 2 suspects began trailing the officer until he was parked and exited his vehicle in the 3900 block of South Artiston. That's where prosecutors say Huncho would exit his vehicle holding a firearm, as he would approach the officer with the firearm pointed just a few feet away from the officer's head. The police officer, having the proper training, took the chance and acted out of self-defense by reaching for his firearm and began exchanging gunfire with Huncho. Now, to be honest with y'all, I wouldn't advise the average person to do that, because without the proper training, you may not be so lucky. Even if you do have the proper training, it can still go left. Or sometimes you may come across a suspect who has a weapon, but he's not really trying to harm you. He's just using it to intimidate you because he really came for money, jewelry, or anything that comes of valuable possession. Now, after the 2 fired shots at each other, Huncho would escape, only to find out that he was shot in both legs, and the officer was also shot near his knee area. Huncho probably knew better than to go to the hospital after exchanging shots with the officer, because they was going to search all hospitals to see who checked in at a certain time in order to find him. However, he had no choice, being that he was bleeding a lot and may have not survived his injuries had he not go to the hospital at the proper time. But this would be his downfall because investigators would link Huncho to the shooting through a firearm that was found on the scene, which contained his DNA as well as his blood splatter. Shortly after, Huncho was picked up and taken into police custody, and he pled guilty for his role last week on November 15th, 2024. Huncho pled guilty to aggravated battery by discharging a firearm in exchange for a 20-year sentence that he was mandated to at least serve 85% of. On top of that charge, he was given an additional 15 years where he at least has to serve 50% of that time after pleading guilty to aggravated vehicular hijacking with a firearm back in May 30th, 2020. At first he wasn't charged with the hijacking until he got into custody for the new charge where he shot the police officer, in which I'm assuming they automatically made him guilty and or he just decided to take the time because the pressure was on. Usually when you catch a charge while you're already fighting a separate case and they're similar, it's hard to convince the court that you didn't do what you're being accused of. And speaking of his previous charge, at the time of the attempted robbery he caught involving a police officer, he was currently on electronic monitoring wearing an ankle monitor for a separate robbery case that he was fighting prior, which made his disregard for the law that much disrespectful. I don't know what it is or what it was in 2020, but I know it was a strange time for everyone because the world was pretty much shut down. Some people like Huncho took matters into their own hands and decided to rob and steal for money, but as his luck would have it, he would target an off-duty police officer. Now, even more interesting, I wonder if they knew if he was a police officer, being that reports say they tracked him when he got off of work. I hope they didn't think it was a smart idea to rob an undercover cop and really think that they was going to get away with it. I mean, they was playing with fire. Now, it's said that with good time and credits he's already earned while being incarcerated, he's expected to be eligible for parole in under 20 years, but he will still have to do a lot of time. Now, for y'all that's out there, young or old, take this into consideration, man. I can't tell you not to be in the streets. I can only encourage you to get out of them. But one thing I will always say is no matter what you do, be smart. He actually lucked up and he only received 20 years for actually shooting a cop and having a prior charge. Now with all that, 9 times out of 10, like they said, he's only going to serve just under 20 years. And I know that sounds crazy when somebody say only, but at the end of the day, he could have got a lot more time for his actions. Now from the beginning, this was a total crash out mission, and not only did he get arrested, but he got shot and could have almost lost his life. On top of that, he had to spend close to 20 years in prison and maybe even more if he isn't careful. So let this be a lesson, y'all. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'ma keep on dropping. And I'm out.